Well, I'm Will Yeoman, the CEO of Writing WA, and I'm joined by 3 of the 4 winners in this year's Love to Read Local Week Fictional Flashbacks competition. Try saying that very fast 6 times. Let's go around the table. Let's start at this end and just introduce yourselves briefly and the title of your winning story.
Okay, hi Will. I'm Nellie Crawford, and the title of my story is A Rope Swing in the Forest. Maybe
just a brief précis, because it's clearly much too long to read, as in not. But
it's a bit of a lament, really, about childhood experiences that will never happen again.
Okay.
But mainly it's a lament about the things that we've lost through climate change, or the things that future generations will lose.
Okay, thank you. Right, Alison.
Hi, Will. Yeah, my name's Alison Davis, and my story is called Shattered.
And could you tell us what it's about in 3 words or less?
Not in 3 words or less, 100 words or less. My story is about a fight between a couple, and then it starts with a moment of storming out of the house, and then it goes back in time, step by step, to when they actually really loved each other and cared for each other.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But it uses a vase, the shattering of a vase, to kind of, I suppose, as a symbol of their relationship being destroyed.
And in very, very short fiction like
in
this, symbols are very important, aren't they? Because they can encapsulate so much.
Yeah, it does certainly makes it easy to convey a lot more in a short amount of time.
Yeah, okay. Now, I should have said, so you're, Nellie, you were the second place winner, and Alison, you were the third place. And now we go to Andrew O'Connor. Is it Andrew?
Andrew R. Cameron.
Andrew R. Cameron. See, I can't read this neat writing of yours on the certificates. So you're the winner.
Yes,
yeah,
I am. Thank you.
Okay,
yeah. So my story is called An Ode to My 2002 VX Commodore. And as you can probably tell from the title, it's a story about my beautiful old car, which is no longer with me because I sold it a few months ago. And it sort of traces my early days with the car, when it promised me the world, and then the later years I had it as well when it was falling apart. It had a very intimate relationship with the road, and I was always grateful when it actually got me to the destination, because it wasn't the most reliable car.
I think that's very symbolism heavy there too. It's you almost personified this vehicle, and I can see why you won, given the title, because basically our judges are all bogans, so it was always going to be the winner.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to all 3 of you. Now let's have a bit of a free-for-all. I'm really interested, and anyone can answer this question. Is this something where you're just dipping your toes in the water? Have you or some of you experienced writers? I mean, what compelled you to even enter this competition in the first place?
Well, about 6 years ago I did a short story writing course, and at the end of it I did my little piece, and the tutor said, "Oh, you should enter competitions," which I hadn't thought of before.
Yes.
But then I started, and the first competition I entered, I got commended, so I thought, oh, this is all right, and I've just sort of been writing 2 or 3 stories a year since then. But my full-time job is artist. That's my day job is visual art.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. So, I mean, what relationships do you see between the visual arts and writing?
I'm very slow at both. And I think what I love about them both is that you never, ever get to the end. You know, if you do a difficult crossword, for example, you finish it and you get a spurt of satisfaction, and then it sort of goes. But with art or writing, you know that you'll never ever get to the stage where you say, oh, I've nailed that, it's finished. So it's a sort of a lifelong quest, a lifelong striving to get somewhere where you're not going to get.
It's like that old saying, ars longa vita brevis, isn't it?
Yes.
Art is forever, but life is so short.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. Thank you. Alison.
So I've written short stories for most of my life, on and off, and I've never had any aspiration for writing something longer. I really love the short form. And in fact, I did a workshop with Laurie Steed years ago, and he said...
I should say that's our esteemed colleague here at Writing WA, Laurie Steed.
And he said to the class, it's okay not to be a novelist. It's okay to be a short story writer. And that was quite illuminating for me, because I thought everyone was practicing short story writing to write something longer. And I thought, actually, I love the short form. But then a few years ago, Night Parrot Press, which is a local publisher of flash fiction, introduced me to Flash, and I've just really never looked back. I love the really short form. I love trying to communicate things in 100 words or 500 words, and I think it provides you with I suppose, different opportunities to play around with form, to use a lot of symbolism, to be very spare with your use of words, which is probably the way I prefer to write anyway.
Yeah, is it akin at all to poetry in that respect? Because it sounds like you're describing poetry.
It's very similar to poetry, I think poetry and Flash. In fact, I'm sure there's a lot of poets that
the prose poem,
beautifully write
the
Flash.
prose poem,
exactly.
yes.
But I've never really written poetry, but I've just found whenever I try and like longer stories, short fiction of 2,000 to 3,000 words, I almost struggle because I want to pare it right back to a much shorter word count.
Is it anything at all to do with your busy professional life?
I do sometimes wonder that it certainly allows you to write things more quickly and finish things and go, wow, I've finished a story. But I don't think it's just that. I really think Flash, I think it's an amazing tool for playing around, for being a bit creative. You can use second person, which is much harder in longer pieces. I often use present tense, much more immediate. And I think the form is something, and in this story I played with the form of starting with the moment and then working backwards.
Beautiful.
Those things are sometimes harder in longer pieces, but I think in Flash you can take more risks and try things out.
But you can kind of rely on the fact that the reader is going to remember the beginning because it wasn't that long ago.
You would hope so. It's just a few lines above. So yeah, I do really love Flash.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Andrew.
So I've been writing most of my life, and I studied creative writing at Curtin University, and then a few years later went on to do my PhD there. So my PhD was looking at science and religion in science fiction, so I have a real interest in science fiction, fantasy, and some of the other genre fictions. Since I finished my PhD, I've been doing sessional lecturing at Curtin, so in creative writing, and then on the side I've been trying to work on a novel. I've had sort of mixed successes there, a few publication offers with the novel, but unfortunately at the last minute they didn't work out. So I'm in the process now of rewriting that novel.
Okay.
But then this year I thought I'd try and get some short fiction written because, with novels, they're a long process and you don't often see those immediate rewards. So I thought I'd enter a few competitions this year, and I've had some successes this year with short fiction.
Fantastic. You get that dopamine hit, eh?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe as a last question, I want to ask you all what you think about this idea of the short story dispenser, because just for those of you who are listening, which is all you're doing, well, actually, we've got some short videos, so in case you are watching, you still probably can't see the table here, which has covered all these little receipt-looking items, which is actually the full stories of each of the authors here. And there's a dispenser at Raine Square in the Perth CBD, and you press a button and out pops these stories. I mean, it's such a sort of novel way to distribute writing, isn't it?
I think it's so fantastic. And to be honest, whenever I tell people about the short story dispenser, if they don't know about it, they're like, that just sounds amazing, and I just wish more people knew about it. The concept that you can be about to jump on a train, press a button and have 3 or 4 stories to read on your train trip home is amazing. And there's some fantastic stories in there. So I think it's a really great resource for people to
That's the first time I've seen it, and I was blown away by it. It was such a surprise to think that you could get a full story on something that looks like a Woolworths receipt and just read it. I mean, they're so easy to read. Sure, these flash fictions are really, really easy to read, so you can get quite a few of them and read them.
Yeah, I really like the sort of random aspect of it as well, because when you select them, press the button on the machine, it's a random story that pops out. So it would encourage you to read things you might not ordinarily read. And rather than going to a bookshop or a library and selecting books that you potentially might like, I love the fact that you can just get anything and it exposes you to such a variety of storytelling.
And also, it takes you away from screen time as well. I like the idea of just reading on paper like this, and yet it's just as compact as anyone's mobile phone. In fact, more so. It's a lot thinner.
And it also gives authors another place to share their work.
Absolutely.
There's limited opportunities to do that, so I think it's really lovely to have something
You are
like that.
absolutely correct. Okay, well, Andrew, Alison and Nellie, thank you so much for joining us on the Pod Well Travelled. I'm going to splice Wendy in a bit later on, so you might hear from her. I hope you all have a great day. Congratulations again, and let's hope that we get to work together again soon.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, now, Wendy, welcome to this little conversation, and you're joining us all the way from Scotland. Just there on holiday, or...?
I'm on holiday, but I'm also here to see my family as well, so it was lovely coming out of the airport in Glasgow yesterday, and my uncle and auntie were waiting for me.
Oh, that's fantastic, yes, and I should have picked up from your accent that you're obviously from that neck of the woods.
Yes, so I was born in St Andrews, but I'm actually, at the moment, I'm in Rossi, which is on the Isle of Bute.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, lovely. So, look, I really enjoyed your story. And look, I tell you what, apart from obviously a lot of other people did, there were 77 votes out of just over 200 for the People's Choice Award. So well done. It clearly captured everyone's imagination. I mean, it's beautiful because it's poignant, it's concise, it's descriptive, and quite original too. I mean, how did you? I mean, I'm assuming it's based on an actual event with finding this crinkled up, card in the pocket of the washing.
Yeah, so my dad worked for the Rolls-Royce in Scotland,
Yes.
and when I was about 10, he gave me his Rolls-Royce identification card, and I used to take that in my pocket to like my examinations or anything, like, as a good luck sort of talisman. And after my dad died, of course, I carried it around all the time, but I actually did put it in the washing machine, and so his photo became all blurred and things like that. And so when the prompt was to talk about something that was important to you, or, an item that was important, that was what came to mind. And then, of course, I was thinking about my dad and thinking, a lot of the times now I think of him in static images rather than in moving images. So, you remember him via photos. And so I was wanting to try and think about drawing him back into your brain as a moving image,
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful and fantastic. Would you consider yourself a writer? Or was this something you just decided to enter on a whim? I mean, what's your background? What's your relationship with writing and indeed reading?
Okay, so I'm definitely a reader. My dad used to say I didn't read books, that I ate them. But I also, I consider myself a writer. So I'm hoping to eventually be published. So I've been working on a story for quite some years about it's a fantasy story about some girls in a boarding school.
Okay.
So I'd really like to be a writer, and so I've just finished doing a Masters of Creative Writing at Macquarie University last year.
Oh, fantastic.
To try and hone my skills.
So congratulations again. Enjoy the rest of your time away, and we hope to see you back in Perth, hopefully at one of our events. Do come up and say hello.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah, nice to meet you in real person.
Indeed. Okay, you take care. And thank you again, Wendy. Okay, bye.
Thanks.